All right, so get this. Today we're tackling a question that has puzzled, well, pretty much everyone for ages.
Yeah, it's a big one.
How did humans domesticate animals? I mean, think about it.
Mhm.
We've got these creatures, some huge, some fierce living alongside us,
Right.
eating from our hands, helping us work, even keeping us company.
It's incredible when you really think about it.
And we've got this awesome lecture transcript that dives deep, really deep into this whole process.
Oh, yeah, this one's packed with insights.
Like, why did some animals become our best buds
Our furry friends.
and others? Well, let's just say they weren't so eager to join the party.
Right, some were definitely more suited than others.
And here's where it gets really wild.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
This lecture even explores the possibility of humans self-domesticating.
Whoa, that's a new one. Self-domestication. We'll have to unpack that.
We definitely will. But before we go all Planet of the Apes on this, let's start with the basics.
Sounds good. Back to the beginning.
When we say domestication, what do we actually mean?
So a lot of folks, they picture a lion tamer, a cage, that kind of thing.
Right, just keeping wild animals locked up.
But domestication, it's so much more than just captivity.
More like a total transformation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Think generations, selective breeding, guiding the evolution of a species to be more compatible with us.
Compatible with our needs, our lifestyles.
Exactly.
So it's not like flipping a switch.
No, it's a slow and deliberate process.
And speaking of slow and deliberate, let's talk about the OG domestication mystery.
Hit me with it.
Dogs.
Ah, man's best friend. The enigma wrapped in fur.
Because here's the thing. Dogs, they don't just exist in the wild.
You don't see packs of poodles roaming the savannah.
So where do they come from? How did we go from wolves howling at the moon to golden retrievers fetching frisbees?
That's the million-dollar question. And this lecture, it digs into the genetic evidence, pointing right back to wolves as the ancestors of all our canine pals.
So wolves traded in their wild ways for belly rubs and squeaky toys. What happened there?
It wasn't overnight, that's for sure. But the evidence suggests wolves were the first species we domesticated, somewhere around 15,000 years ago.
15,000 years. Talk about a long-term relationship.
No kidding. And during that time, well, let's just say we've gotten pretty good at this domestication thing.
We've learned a thing or two about which animals make good roommates, huh?
And which ones are better left in the wild.
Exactly. And this lecture, it lays out some key criteria, traits that make an animal, shall we say, domestication material.
A checklist for the ideal furry friend? Or maybe feathered or scaled friend, depending on your taste.
All right, I'm all ears. What are we looking for in a potential domesticator?
Well, first off, picky eaters need not apply.
Makes sense. You don't want a pet that only eats panda-grade bamboo.
Nope, a specialized diet, it's just not sustainable in a human-controlled environment.
So adaptability is key.
Absolutely. And speaking of adapting, they gotta grow up relatively quickly. Imagine waiting decades for a pet to reach maturity.
I'd be an old man by the time my pet tortoise was finally ready to play fetch.
Yes, slow growth is a no-go for efficient domestication. You need those generations to move along at a decent pace.
Right, we've got things to do, places to be.
And this next one, this is a biggie. They gotta be able to, well, make more of themselves in captivity.
You mean breed?
Exactly. You can give them all the food, shelter, love in the world, but if they won't breed outside their natural habitat, you're stuck.
It's like they're saying thanks, but no thanks. We prefer a honeymoon suite with an ocean view.
The lecture actually uses cheetahs and dolphins as examples here.
Oh, right. Cheetahs need all that space to roam. And dolphins, they're super sensitive to their surroundings.
Captivity just cramps their style, if you know what I mean.
No baby dolphins in a bathtub.
I got it. So diet, growth rate, breeding, all checked off. What about personality?
Ah, yes. Temperament is crucial. We're talking a docile nature, a chill demeanor. No drama queens or kings allowed.
Makes sense. Who wants a pet zebra constantly kicking down the fence?
Yeah, they're beautiful, but maybe not the best for cuddling on the couch. And on the flip side, you don't want an animal that's constantly freaking out either.
Right. Some are just too skittish for captivity. It's just not in their nature.
So we're looking for the Goldilocks of temperament. Not too aggressive, not too fearful, just right.
Just right. And finally, the ideal candidate, they're probably a social butterfly.
You mean a social species, like pack animals.
Bingo. Think wolves, right? They've got a social hierarchy. They're used to living in groups, working together.
So they're more likely to accept us humans as, well, part of the pack.
Exactly. It makes them easier to manage, to integrate into our lives.
Okay, so our domestication checklist is complete. Adaptable eaters, reasonable growth rate, happy breeders in captivity, a chill personality, and a social butterfly.
You got it. But how did we go from those criteria to the amazing variety of, say, dog breeds we have today?
Yeah, from wolves to chihuahuas, that's quite a leap.
And this is where things get really fascinating. The lecture talks about this incredible experiment, the silver fox experiment.
Silver fox experiment. Okay, I'm ready for a science story. Lay it on me.
So picture this. 1959, Soviet Union. A group of scientists decide to selectively breed silver foxes.
For what? Cuteness? Fluffiness?
Nope, for tameness.
Tameness. Like how friendly they are.
Exactly. They separated the foxes into two groups. A friendly group where they bred the tamest foxes, and a control group. And over generations, something amazing happened.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What happened?
Well, the friendly foxes, they did become increasingly docile, as expected.
Makes sense. But that's not the amazing part, right?
No, here's the kicker. They also started to look different.
Wait, how?
They developed floppy ears, curly tails, even changes in coat color. They started looking more and more like, well, domesticated dogs.
Whoa, hold on. So by choosing for tameness, they accidentally created a bunch of adorable, fluffy, floppy-eared foxes.
Pretty much. And that tells us something really profound about domestication.
Like what?
It suggests that those physical changes we see in domesticated animals, they're not just random. There might be a genetic predisposition, a kind of domestication syndrome.
Hold up. Domestication syndrome. Like a set of genes that makes an animal more, well, domesticated.
That's the idea. And the silver fox experiment, it provides some pretty compelling evidence for this theory.
Mind officially blown. So are we saying there's a domestication gene lurking in the DNA of certain species, just waiting to be switched on?
It's probably not quite that simple, but the idea is pretty wild, right? And this is where things get even wilder.
Okay, hit me with it.
This brilliant anthropologist, Richard Wrangham, he took one look at the silver fox experiment and it had a truly radical thought.
Okay, I'm ready for radical. What did he think?
What if a similar process happened in humans?
Whoa, you're talking about humans self-domesticating. Now that's a deep dive.
And that's exactly what we'll be exploring in part 2.
You've definitely got my attention.
Stay tuned. This is about to get really interesting.
Okay, so before we went to, I guess it wasn't really a break, was it?
Not really, no. More like a pause.
Yeah, a pause. We were talking about self-domestication. The idea that, well, maybe humans domesticated themselves over time.
It's a pretty wild concept when you first hear it.
It is. But you were saying there's actual evidence to back it up, like real scientific evidence, not just, oh, humans are friendly, so they must have self-domesticated.
Exactly. And some of the most compelling evidence comes from looking at our physical traits, comparing them to, other primates and domesticated animals.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Give me the details. What kind of physical traits are we talking about?
Well, one of the most obvious is our faces.
Our faces. Like, what about them?
Well, compared to our primate cousins, like chimpanzees, humans have these relatively flat faces, smaller teeth, less prominent brow ridges.
Okay, so we're not exactly winning any most intimidating primate awards.
Yeah.
But what does that have to do with domestication?
Well, all those features I just mentioned, flat face, small teeth, those are all associated with neoteny.
Right, neoteny. That's the whole retention of youthful characteristics thing we talked about earlier.
Exactly. And it turns out a lot of domesticated animals, they exhibit neotenous features too.
So you're saying our baby faces are a sign of domestication. That's a new one.
It might sound strange, but when you think about the evolutionary pressures at play, it makes sense.
Okay, walk me through it.
In a domesticated environment, aggression, it's not really a winning strategy.
Right, you don't need to be constantly fighting for survival.
And those neotenous features, the softer features, the larger eyes, they actually trigger a nurturing response in other individuals.
So it's like built-in cuteness that disarms potential aggressors. Like a biological, don't hurt me, I'm adorable signal.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just physical appearance. Our behavior also offers clues about this self-domestication process.
Okay, so we're talking personality now.
Yeah, think about the traits often associated with domesticated animals.
Okay, let's see. More tolerant of each other, less aggressive, more playful maybe?
You got it. And those are all traits we see in humans too. We're incredibly social creatures. We thrive on cooperation, communication.
It's how we build societies, create art, do all the things that make us human.
Exactly. And those very traits that make us unique, that capacity for cooperation, for complex communication, those might be direct consequences of self-domestication.
So by favoring friendlier, less aggressive individuals over generations, we might have inadvertently set ourselves on this path towards greater social complexity. It's like we domesticated ourselves into being the social butterflies we are today. But hold on a second. If we're so domesticated, why is there still so much conflict and violence in the world?
That's a great point. And it highlights that domestication, it's not an endpoint, it's an ongoing process.
Okay, so it's more like a spectrum. Some of us are more domesticated than others.
Precisely. Just like those silver foxes, there's still variation within our species. Some individuals might lean more towards those cooperative tendencies, while others, well, they might hold on to a bit more of that wild side.
It's like we're this fascinating mix of nature and nurture, both capable of incredible acts of kindness and, unfortunately, terrible acts of violence.
Exactly. And that duality, that complexity, it's part of what makes us human. We're shaped by this long and intricate evolutionary history. And the more we understand that history, the better equipped we are to, well, understand ourselves and navigate the challenges that come with being human.
Okay, I'm really starting to see how this self-domestication idea goes so much deeper than we initially thought.
Right.
It makes you question, well, everything about human nature, really. But I want to shift gears a little bit here.
Okay, where are we headed?
We've been talking a lot about the past, the present, but what about the future? What does this all mean for our relationship with animals, with the whole animal kingdom? I mean, we've been shaping other species for thousands of years, but what happens next?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll be diving into after, well, another pause.
Okay, so we're back and ready to tackle the big question, the future of domestication. We've explored how humans domesticated animals, even this crazy idea that we might have self-domesticated. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think the future of domestication might not be about taming new species, but more about transforming the relationships we have with the ones we've already domesticated.
Okay, transforming our relationship.
Oh,
What does that even mean? Are we going to start, like, letting our pets vote or something?
not quite, but you're closer than you think. We're starting to recognize that domesticated animals are more than just resources or property, you know?
Right, they're not just tools or toys.
Exactly. They have complex emotions, social needs just like us. Think about the growing push for humane treatment of farm animals, the rise of animal therapy. We're finally starting to recognize their sentience.
Yeah, it's like we're finally waking up to the fact that these creatures are way more than just cute faces and wagging tails. I mean, I've even seen videos of people teaching their dogs to talk using buttons.
Oh yeah, those videos are amazing. It's incredible to see how much they understand, how much they can communicate.
It really makes you wonder, how far can this go?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? And it's leading to some pretty groundbreaking conversations. Like, there's a growing movement advocating for legal personhood for certain animals.
Hold on, legal personhood for animals, you mean like giving them the same rights as humans?
Not exactly the same rights, but it's about recognizing that certain species, like great apes and dolphins, they possess such a high level of intelligence and self-awareness that they deserve certain fundamental rights, like the right to life, the right to protection from harm.
Wow, that's a huge shift in thinking. It really makes you think about all the ethical implications of domestication. I mean, sure, we've benefited immensely from it, but have we really considered their side of the story?
That's the key question, isn't it? And it leads us to another fascinating aspect of the future of domestication, de-domestication.
De-domestication. Wait, so like undoing domestication. Are we going to start turning our poodles back into wolves?
Not quite that dramatic, but there are actual projects aimed at reintroducing domesticated species, or at least their close descendants, back into the wild, like the efforts to rewild horses in North America.
So giving these animals a chance to like reconnect with their wild instincts, live independently, that's amazing. But is that even possible after generations of, well, being domesticated?
That's the million-dollar question. Can a domesticated species truly return to its wild roots? And what are the ethical considerations of doing so? It's a whole new frontier in our relationship with the animal kingdom.
It sounds like the future of domestication is less about control and more about finding a balance, learning to coexist in a way that benefits both sides.
You got it. It's about recognizing that these animals are not just property or resources. They're fellow beings, deserving of our respect and consideration.
And that brings us full circle, back to that idea of human self-domestication. If we're evolving towards greater cooperation and empathy, could that lead to a future where our relationship with animals is a true partnership?
It's an exciting possibility to think about. Maybe by acknowledging their sentience, their needs, we're not just taming them, but rediscovering a deeper connection to the natural world, a connection that could benefit both humans and animals in the long run.
I love that idea. So we started this deep dive exploring how animals became domesticated, and now we're talking about animal rights, rewilding, even a future of partnership. It's pretty amazing how far we've come.
It's a testament to the power of curiosity, of constantly questioning and exploring new ideas.
And that's what this deep dive has been all about. So to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring this topic, to keep asking those tough questions. The future of our relationship with the animal kingdom, it's still being written. And your thoughts, your actions, they play a role in shaping that future. So keep questioning, keep learning, keep those minds open, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to make the next groundbreaking discovery. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been an incredible journey.
Until next time.